Let's take a look at Jon Jones in the heavyweight division. Because we have clues. We don't have any information, but we have clues. Look, the guy that you're calling out that you want to fight, whoever and whatever direction you're going, it isn't always because you want to fight that guy. It's you'd rather fight that guy than another guy. There could be something because Francis is communicating a lot with Jon Jones. He's having a big back and forth with Jon. Now, we've been told it's going to be Derek Lewis and Francis. We've also been told somewhere along the way that Francis did not want to do the Derek Lewis fight. Without any explanation, we were then told that that fight was going to happen, but that fight isn't happening. That fight isn't booked or signed. And now you have more chatter between Jon Jones and Ngannou. So just to look at it from their perspective, what is it that Jon Jones sees in Ngannou that he believes he would rather fight him than, say, Stipe or Lewis? And it could be a real simple answer, which is he's got the championship and Jon doesn't give a damn. Okay. But what is it about Francis that he wants to fight Jon Jones instead of the fight that he's already been told he could have, which is against Derek? What is it with that matchup with Derek that Ngannou's already felt once makes him think I would be better going and finding somebody else? And I have to tell you, I know what I'm saying here. Did it my whole career. A lot of times you'll get moved in a direction of somebody. You'll start to dislike this guy even less and start to be even more competitive with this guy because there's something else within inside of you that thinks you're going to be pulled over in this direction and this one is safer. But it would be very curious to try to break that down and understand. Jon Jones, when he was in a back and forth with Francis 2 days ago, said something to Francis about all the guys that Jon beats and finishes. Now, none of that is recent. None of that is of late. And it is very true that 2012 Jon Jones finished a lot of guys. But in 2021, are we making an argument for something that we did 9 years ago? I think as human beings, we'd all love to get that deal. It just seems very strange. And then if you do look at the 205-pound division, Jon's last fight, which he lost, he won the decision. He lost the fight to Dominic Reyes. That opponent has not won since. So if you're Jon, you have some level of logic to go, okay, look, everything changes fast. You don't get better at something by not doing it. I haven't done it. I lost that fight to a guy who hasn't beaten anybody since. What's it say for me? Is heavyweight an easier division? Yes, the answer is yes. But is it an easier division to the extent that even with a reduced skill set, I can still win? That's ultimately what the question is going to be. But if Jon Jones was having those thoughts, if he was really doubting himself, and we have one piece of evidence that he is, but only one, which is I need a whole bunch of money. I don't think I can beat this guy. This guy is very dangerous. Somebody's got to go in and take the lumps, and I'll do it, but you're going to have to pay me. This is the one where I exit stage left because I'm not a contender. I spent my life as champion. If I'm not going to be the champion, then I'll see you all later. Somebody's got to pay me. So we have that as a piece of evidence that there's something in here that Jon doesn't love. I would find it hard to believe, though, that somebody is in the gym beating Jon. Right? For Jon to come to a conclusion that I can't do it up here. I mean, somebody had to have made him feel that way, and I don't believe that to be true. I really don't. I don't know how much I buy the idea that Jon is scared of Francis, or Jon believes that he's going to lose to Francis, or at least that Jon believes this is the most likely guy to beat me, and if he does do it, he's going to do it in a vicious knockout, and I'm not going to like to see those highlights. I don't know. I get that the evidence and the signs are there. But you still have a very talented guy who's only as good as his workout room. And I haven't heard any reports that guys are getting over him in the practice room. Now, I've been told by many people that Jon isn't sparring much. I was told he's not sparring at all, but that he is putting time in, that he is coming in one-on-one. He is doing mitts. He is doing some road work. He is doing the conditioning. He's stuck very consistently with the weightlifting. Unless somebody's throwing him around or roughing him up or making him work harder than he used to have to, I don't know where his confidence would decline. That's generally something that a fighter doesn't have, but one that maybe they should. Tito versus Chuck by example, but because of the absence, because of the lack of sparring, because of never having a reminder or an actual benchmark to put you in check is why that embarrassing moment happened. I don't think that's happening with Jon. I look at that roster, man, they got plenty of good guys. I wouldn't disrespect any of them. But they're not Jon. They only got one Jon. Jon is feeling or believing or sensing something else. And all of you guys could put yourself in that spot. And for the 1/10 of you that go, oh, no, you should pay him. Time out. You don't actually think that. Let me ask you a question. If you could be world champion, if you have the right to be world champion because you're the best, and you're going to have this glorious moment captured in front of the world, would you pass that up? Is there a semicolon? Is there anything that needs to come in after that? It's Olympic year. Nobody in the history of the world, or this year, or in the next quadrennium, is going to be sitting at home in the living room while they're putting a gold medal around somebody's neck, slap their buddy next to them and go, you know, I could have done that. I didn't want to go to the Olympics this year. The right guy will always show up. And it's not true about 2 and 3 and 4. That it's not an absolute statement for the number 8 guy and the number 12 guy. The right guy will always show up. So now you're left with what is going on in Jon's life that he doesn't believe, he's not as confident that he's going to be the guy. Is it just watching Francis go, man, that's a big guy. That guy is very athletic. I think he does some stuff. What is it? Or is the practice room not going so well? And there's only a few benchmarks that you have that are absolutely quantifiable. Lifting weights is a great thing to do as an athlete because you will always know if you're getting stronger, right? The weights have a little number on them. If that number is going up over time, real easy to say I'm getting stronger. Pull-ups are a great one. How many can I do? That number was 20, but now it's 23. You're getting better at pull-ups. But if it's 20 and now it's 16 and a half, you start realizing, getting a little weaker in that area. Timed runs are a great one. Where that's a 100-yard sprint or a mile or a 2-mile. Being able to check those times and know where you're at in conjunction with where were you at before. And there's not everything in those numbers that's going to work well for Jon, but don't forget, Jon is in a unique experiment. He's changing weight classes. Sure, if he's 12 pounds bigger, sure, he's not going to run a mile as quickly as he did, right? I mean, it's one of those things. I'm starting to wonder if Jon is questioning himself. And I would encourage him not to. When am I ever the guy to encourage Jon Jones? But I see something different. And I do realize over time, being a human being and the laws of life catch everyone. But there has been a tired, storied career here where nobody else could do what he could do. You guys will remember Dennis Rodman back in the 80s playing with Pippen and Jordan, but Rodman would be out to the clubs till 3 a.m. And then he would be playing for the championship the following night, have more rebounds than anybody. Like every now and then there's a guy that just doesn't fit the same. Now, I understand that Rodman didn't play in the year 2000. I understood that was a window and he likely shortened it himself. And I understand that will catch Jon at some point too. I just don't know that I'm seeing it. Even if you look at these last fights, people think that Jon's losing. Both split decisions, right? Those can just be the people we're referring to. People think he's losing. But a licensed judge in his last 2 fights thought that he lost the contest. I thought he looked great. I mean, I saw something a little bit different. The one thing that you have with Jon Jones is a total package in this regard. You can win the gold medal. You can win first place if you're better than everybody else or if you're tougher. If you just have more grit and you try harder, longer, you can go all the way to the championship. Jon is both. Jon is more skilled, and when he's needed to reach down and find out who's inside of him. I mean, that was first tested against Gustafsson part 1. And it has been tested since. But Jon has passed those tests. I would challenge you heavily to the greatest Jones naysayer out there. Okay, great. Just tell me a fight that Jon had that he didn't win the 5th round. When the going was at its absolute hardest and most difficult and both guys wanted out, show me a round, number 5, in Jon's career that he lost. And if you can do that, we can continue this conversation. But if you can't, you're going to have to concede back to me. He's tough. He's a very tough guy. And I don't know that he gets credit for that. I don't know that I'm trying to get him credit, though, with you guys. I'm trying to get him credit with himself. There's something within him right now he's not liking. There's something that has reduced his confidence. One thing that none of you would ever do is be the best in the world at something and not go get your credit. None of you can relate to that, including the people, oh, Dana needs to do this and Dana needs to open up the... Not one of you in any walk of life would be the best in a field that you sacrificed and worked for and not go claim your moment. Nobody. You would not go claim your moment if you weren't sure that it was your moment. That's the difference. That's the distinction. Jon's talking about great things that he did, and they're true. They were in 2012. He needs to stop. Francis is referring to Jon as a decision fighter. Okay, fine. I don't think there's an insult when you're digging deep on those decisions like Jon's had to do, when you've had to come from behind. When you've already climbed that mountain more times than anybody, you're going to climb it one more time just because we're here and I'm a tough guy. I don't know that I've seen a Jon Jones decision that I didn't enjoy thoroughly. Something is going on. And Francis is now leaning towards Jones, at least in the last 48 hours of social media, which means he's steering away from Derek. And I don't know how much Francis wants to fight Jon. I don't know. We'd have to talk to Francis. But fighting Jon just doesn't mean you go in and you fight a guy from 60 pounds smaller weight class. It means you don't fight Derek. And I'm very curious, which is the stronger motivation right now?